Welcome to Rewind Basement. It's the end of the world and I feel fine. Today we are talking about our favorite post-apocalyptic nightmare movies. And we're talking about what we like about them, why we like them, the themes, and things like that. We would love to hear from you in the comments section below. What are your favorite post-apocalyptic movies? What do you like about them? For today, we are sticking to movies that are not about the zombies, apocalypse, aliens, monsters, or the lead up to the apocalypse. We want to get straight into this is life, this is what people are doing.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this idea, the thought was pretty much any zombie movie is a post-apocalyptic movie.
Right.
And there's 1.5 million of those. But the choice isn't as vast when you get to the post-apocalyptic. Life is totally different than what we know now, and that's how it's been for people. There's 1 million apocalyptic movies. You know, there's everyday life happening, and then some catastrophe happens, and you see that big catastrophe happen, and then life changes and you see that alteration. I wanted to just jump into, it's been this way for 10, 20, 30, 100 years.
Right.
What does life look like? And what were the inspirations for the filmmakers to make these movies? And so where we can begin is like the first few post-apocalyptic movies. Those were done in the 20s. Believe it or not. And a lot of those movies were because of the fear of Halley's Comet. So they were comet-based apocalyptic endings of society. And then you had in 36,
Right.
Things to Come, which is H.G. Wells.
Right. And it's on Tubi.
Yes.
Right now, so you can watch it. This might not have been one that's crushed radar. Joshua asked me to watch it. I found it on Tubi. It was in color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You're like, purists.
Yeah.
Thank you for recommending this movie. Right off the bat, I did love it. I loved the aesthetics. I loved that every movie you watch today about the post-apocalypse, you can see the influences, right?
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when it's a little bit more pure, and they're not influences. What were some of your favorite things about it?
I liked the futurism of it. Now that one kind of skirts the lines because it does start off in like normal everyday. It's an apocalyptic movie.
Right.
But I thought it was worth mentioning because it's like one of the first, if not the first, man-made apocalypse.
Right.
And then life after the fact. And the man-made aspect of it was the atomic bomb and war. And it was an interesting take on things because it was that, okay, the world is now reset,
right,
and you can create this utopian society. And then there were the people that didn't want to be part of the utopia or
right,
weren't deemed worthy enough to be part of it.
I really liked the jurisdiction part of it. You've got the one guy that is like the warlord of the town that we're following, and then an outside guy comes in. He's like, "We've already fixed everything. We're living great. Things are back to normal." And they're like, "Well, no, you're under arrest." He's like, "I'm not under arrest. I'm trying to help you guys." And they're like, "No." And so I liked that. I mean, you know, we've talked about in a prior episode. Nice. In a prior episode, we're going to zoom in on that. We talked about the uncommunicated tribes and cannibalism.
Yep.
And how you've got somebody that says, "I'm civilized and I'm better, and I'm going to march right into society and either be the ruler or take advantage." And they're like, "The hell you are. I'm going to stick you in a pot and eat you." So there was no cannibalism that we saw on screen in Things to Come. You have to assume, though, right? Everybody assumes there's always cannibalism right under the levels.
So then you fast forward and you start to get into kind of these monster movies, invasion movies, some apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic movies where the political time, there was that fear, that early Cold War fear. And so that kind of brought about a new approach to the end of the world, right? Again, it's that fear of nuclear war. Most, I would think, correct me if you disagree, that most post-apocalyptic movies are because of war.
Yes, there's been a couple from a virus.
Right.
But yes, war is, if there was a pie chart towards an unavoidable end of society, I think the biggest slice would be war.
Yeah.
Very possible.
But then you've got movies like the Mad Max series where it's not necessarily war, but the lack of resources.
Right. I was looking on Wikipedia, and according to Wikipedia, it's kind of hinted at in Mad Max 1-ish, 2-ish, right? Because it wasn't quite the apocalypse in the first one. But it was during the era, politics-wise, of the oil crisis and Saudi Arabia and some of the other, and it was the conflict over who gets the oil and how much it is caused the collapse of the resources. And so it wasn't a virus, and it wasn't like one war wiped out everybody. It was the disagreements over resources that led to just a complete collapse.
Yeah.
And political of its time. That was something that was concerned George Miller back then, or he thought that was realistic. And I want to come back to 12 Monkeys, but 12 Monkeys was a virus, but it wasn't zombies.
So, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
Viruses are okay because it's,
right.
You get like Outbreak.
Right.
Things like that, which is apocalyptic, whereas 12 Monkeys definitely post.
Right. And we'll talk about 12 Monkeys in a bit, but that we're covering all of our causes, cause and effects.
But yeah, most of them I would think it's war related, or it's a critique of the current government system.
Right.
There's maybe not so much on the American side of apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic movies, but definitely on the foreign side.
Right.
A lot of those films are a critique on that filmmaker's country's political activities at the time.
Right.
And so we'll get into that a little bit too. And then there's weather.
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of a discussion on global warming and things like that, with again, some of that could be Mad Max-ish,
right?
Because it's hot wastelands.
Right.
You've got Waterworld, you've got Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Which I love the idea of Snowpiercer being a long-time sequel to Willy Wonka.
I have not heard that
deep
dive.
We'll get into that
all right.
discussion for another future podcast. A Boy and His Dog, Zardoz, things like that, which are post-apocalyptic. Zardoz is kind of a like aliens,
right?
Demigods, and that starts to get into some weird stuff. So I didn't want to have that on my list for this. But what drives you to post-apocalyptic movies?
So there is, I'm being very careful how I say this. There's a little bit of fantasy, right? Like every time you deal with traffic or taxes or the BS that is your life, and then you see, the images of the wasteland where you're like, none of that matters. I would love to just be responsible for finding my own food and water. Then very quickly I'd realize, no, that is a terrible existence. I will take on traffic and taxes if it means if I open up the faucet, there is water. I have a clean sewer system, and there are food on the shelves. I don't have to hunt. So, but there's that fantasy of, man, I'm disappointed in the way things are, or I'm frustrated by something in my life. Complete total reboot. Bring it. I want to see it. I want to indulge in that for a little bit. And then you learn, okay, it was fun to indulge in it, but it's not a genuine wish. I would never wish on monkey paw for something like that. That'd be dangerous.
No. You've already learned your lesson.
I've already learned my lesson.
Monkey paw.
So that's one of the things. But also, I love graphic design. I love industrial design. I love products. I love the shapes. I love the things that people make and use. And that's why I love in post-apocalyptic movies. There's a good theme of repurposing things or what things look like when they're busted and redone. That's one of my favorite things about Mad Max is the way things are reused to make the cars go, and what is the gas pedal, and what is the shifter knob, and what is I love that these are objects that somebody made, and now it's used to pee in, or now it's used to as a baby crib. It's like an oil drum repurposed as a cradle. Like there's that repurposing, reimagining due to hardship and ingenuity of resources. I like that MacGyvering. There's like a lot of MacGyvering.
Yep.
So the aesthetic, the fantasy, a little bit of fantasy in there. Those are my two biggies.
All right. I like the aesthetic. I like that okay, kind of like with you, if everything ended right now, how would I survive? What would I do?
Right.
Which does kind of sound a little bit appealing for the first day or two.
Right.
And then you have your worry of roving bandits and ravagers and things like that. Things that we see on all of these movies. And so I quickly go, okay, well, maybe that's fun for a weekend. But I also like the idea of being able to use it as a vehicle for voicing your dissatisfaction in a way that is cool and artistic, or sometimes downright depressing.
Right.
As kind of like a wake-up call, hopefully, of this is how bad it could be. Now, we all understand that it's not going to happen overnight. And some of these terrible things aren't always or necessarily based in reality. But it's that idea of, yeah, it could be worse. So maybe if we dial certain things back, we can avoid some of this for things that we're never going to have to worry about.
Right.
But maybe 4 or 5 generations from now, 6 generations from now, they might have to start worrying about it more. So I like it as a wake-up call for some sort of like social consciousness. So let's talk about some of the movies that stand out for us. I put together a little bit of a list to just build from.
Right.
But let's start with, would we want to do like with our top 15 where we start with age, or do you want to start with reasons?
I will start with reasons,
Okay.
I guess. And then what I'd like to do is I want to start with aesthetic.
All right.
Like the ones that I just love because of how they look. We use this podcast to wave a banner for the things that I feel like need to be talked about because they're not talked about enough. Because there's plenty of stuff out there. Everybody knows this, everybody knows that, but there's some things I really want to wave a banner for and say, give it a second shot. And my favorite post-apocalyptic movie that I feel like doesn't get enough love is Terminator Salvation. Everybody knows.
Good for you.
Yeah. La-di-da. I got the lights set up. Is Mick G going to do anything about this? I love Terminator Salvation. I'm a huge fan of Terminator 1 and 2, right? Don't get me wrong. And I love parts of Terminator 3. It's enjoyable. But I thought Terminator Salvation was fantastic. And it also acts as a prequel. You could, because I watched it just the other day with fresh eyes for what I want to talk about in this episode. You could watch it first. And if you had no knowledge of the Terminator universe, yeah, you'd miss some inside jokes. But you could watch it first and then go straight into 1984's Terminator. I love the aesthetic of the militarized post-apocalyptic. You've got the straps and the grenades and the guns and the gas stations that have been repurposed. And then it's all very used and beat up. And then you've got the Terminators. And they got creative because it's pre-T800. So you had the motorcycle ones and you had the T100s. And it's still, it tells a story. It's about what makes us human. It's about who we are, what our desires are. So I thought the story was fine with the themes that it had. So anyway, if it's been a while, if it's been a hot minute since you watched Terminator Salvation, I say check it out. It's a fantastic post-apocalyptic movie. It's a fantastic Terminator entry. Try watching it first and then go straight into Terminator 1. I think you'll dig it.
Interesting. Okay. With aesthetics, that goes with, I guess you're also talking like Mad Max.
Yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. I do love Planet of the Apes. I had to wear my shirt today. The funny thing is you don't know it's post-apocalyptic till the end.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Oh, spoiler alert.
For a 1968 film. We are doing a spoiler. So the thing I love, we talked about how in Mad Max, I love the repurposing of different pieces put together, but also how it was filmed. George Miller is brilliant. And then he says, this is how I want to film it. And this is who I want to do costumes. And this is who I want to do the set design. There was, right before Fury Road came out, they had an exhibit in Australia. I think it was in the parking lot of the Opera House. I'm pretty sure. And they had all the cars out. And everybody could just walk around. I think you could climb in one or two of them. But they just had them all out. They had 30 or 40 of the cars. And they wanted people to know, hey, look, all these cars are built. This is not overly CGI'd. This is not BS. Like, these are rusted things that were welded together. And there are all these details and things that you didn't see, that didn't get a close-up. And so I like that good enough. You talk about that a lot. His level of this is what would make it work.
Right.
You watch Mad Max to indulge. And then on top of that, on top of how good it looks and how it's filmed, then you got the set piece, the action, where the guys are on the poles and they're coming right at the camera and their cars are flipping over and people are getting impaled. And I loved it. Do you want to talk about Waterworld? Because Waterworld is pretty much Mad Max on water.
It is Mad Max on water.
Right. Do you think it was derivative? Like, was it obvious, or did it bring something new to the table?
I think it totally brought something new to the table. Every post-apocalyptic film that you've seen, there's always that hunt for food and water and shelter.
Right.
Because everybody is hot, they're starving, and supplies are limited.
Right.
But you had a space you can escape to.
Right.
Whereas with Waterworld, you had all the water in the world.
Right.
But you couldn't drink it.
Couldn't drink it.
And you had nowhere to escape to. Like if you're being chased by scavengers,
right,
you can hide in the woods.
Right.
You can find a cabin somewhere.
Or a cave in the desert.
Something you can hide. In Waterworld, you can't. You're stuck.
You're
in the middle of nowhere.
Right. So your only hope is to outrun.
Yep. So I thought that it definitely brought something new to the table. And so I appreciate it for that.
Right.
Aesthetics, it's like you said, it's Mad Max
on the water.
On the water, so you get all of that same look and that repurposing of equipment.
Right.
I still have issues with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people do.
Get in line.
Get in line. All the other post-apocalyptic things, you can wander around and find things and make it work.
Right.
How are you doing that where there's no land?
Right. You have to be a part of society.
Yep.
Now, Mariner was an outlier, right? But he had a special power. Is this spoilers on a 30-year-old movie? But he could be an outlier.
Yep.
But he was not an average person.
Right.
He had more resources than other people. So I
thought that was a cheat.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cheat that they used. I prefer movies where they're on their own because they have that skill.
Right.
Not because they're a special mutation.
Right. I thought it was too silly.
To have, yes. Like, and come on, Dennis's character was just.
Yeah. He was having a blast though.
he was having fun. But it was just too much. It was.
Yeah.
Now, if
balanced well.
If they came out and said, we've got this movie and we're going to talk about, it's a post-apocalyptic movie, but we're approaching it like a comic book, then everything would make sense.
Right.
Everything would be fine. The over-the-topness, that would be fine.
Right.
Because you would expect that in a graphic novel or a comic book.
Right. Okay, yeah, fair. I do not wave a flag for Waterworld. It is not on my list. But I mean, it was fun to watch. There are aspects of it that I really loved. But then my overall impression, like, I really don't think, I think it's been 10 years since I've watched it.
Yeah.
Was, yeah, this is kind of silly. And so it's like, which is it? Are you trying to be like, wow, this is a very real possibility for us? Or it's like, hijinks.
Right.
You know, and there was a little, the balance was not to my liking.
Now, to shift from desert to water to the other extreme with Snowpiercer,
Right.
where the temperature outside is so extremely cold
Right.
that people are living on this train. I loved Snowpiercer because it had you guessing about everything.
Right.
And the punishments that they used, the way they had to repurpose in that, so you still get that aesthetic.
Right.
But it was also a comment on separations in societal classes.
I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say about Snowpiercer was the guy that wrote it wanted to have a conversation about class system.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of tackling this big, huge thing, he said, I want to make my point, but I need a microcosm way to do that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he thought, oh, what if there was people on a train for forever? Oh, that would lead to class system. I think he wanted to talk about class system, and having a post-apocalyptic train ride was a good vehicle for that to keep him on track. So I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, what a great the toolbox, the storytelling toolbox, post-apocalyptic nightmare disaster is a great way to tell a story and make your comments in a way that hadn't been seen before.
And I think by keeping it within a claustrophobic space of a train, that small space kind of forces the discussion a little more. And it shows more that because you can't escape any of it.
Right.
Right. There's no escaping from one to the other without dire consequences.
Yeah.
You can't get off the train. You can't force your way forward. But that's why Snowpiercer is a good example of why I like post-apocalyptic movies, because, like I said earlier, it allows you to speak out against a government system that you're either a part of or you know of.
Right.
So there is a movie that I absolutely enjoyed that I tried to find a way for you to watch it outside of one streaming service.
Right.
And it's a Polish movie from 1985 called Oh Bye, The End of Civilization.
Right.
This one, it's kind of on the level of like The Road, where it's nothing but a depressing movie the entire time.
Right.
So the world has ended. I believe it's because of nuclear war. And so all of these people have the remaining civilization is in this bunker. This is a military bunker. They're safe from the fallout and everything else because of thick military concrete walls and this, that, and the other. But there is that split between the haves and have-nots, but it's a much smaller halves. It's the police force and the hierarchy, and then it's everybody else. And it's lit very sparsely.
Okay.
And the main character that you follow is part of the haves, and his job was propaganda. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I like it, is because we're very familiar with having that kind of a job. And the idea to keep everybody in line was to tell them and promise them that the Ark is coming soon. The Ark is this flying ship that is going to rescue them and take them to a safer place that you don't have to worry. You can be outside. And so they created this myth of the Ark coming, even though there is no Ark coming.
Right.
And so money has broken down, food is broken down, they barter for everything, but it's all within this basically like warehouse bunker. and the mass is just mindless drones at this point. There's groups of outliers that are screaming, creating this religion of the ark, and then others that are speaking against it. Like, there is no ark. They're not coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself.
Right.
All that sounds familiar too. But the bulk of the population are mindless drones.
Okay.
That get fed this thing from a chute, and they just kind of stand underneath it and wait for it to fall on them. But the government's been lying to them the whole time. So you look at what was going on in Poland in the early 80s.
Right.
The director also did another film the year before, again, dealing with government propaganda and things like that. It wasn't post-apocalyptic. It dealt with like aliens visiting, and that movie got banned in Poland because of what it was saying
Too
about.
critical.
Yes, it was too critical of the government. This one, however, still as critical, a year later, is touring the film festival circuit and winning awards.
Okay.
But the way it's shot, what it's saying, the way it's doing it, that's the kind of thing that drives me to post-apocalyptic movies. Is what are you trying to say? I love the aesthetics of things, but I love what are you trying to say, and who are you trying to say it to, and are they even going to catch on?
Right. I've got two paths to take here.
Okay.
Okay. I want to drop this one in now. I want to talk about WALL-E. It's a post-apocalyptic movie for kids.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was made, we wanted to see two robots and expressing a relationship, right? That was the main point. But a big part of it was that Earth was no longer sustainable. It was covered in garbage. The message is a little heavy-handed. I mean, it's for kids, but like the by and large, and the consumerism, right? And it's really funny that Apple would shake a finger at society for consuming too much. A little crazy there. But to your point about what is it saying, why is it saying, who's it saying it to, I think it's great that WALL-E comes along. Kickstarter says, hey, check out this movie. It's adorable. You're going to buy the pajamas, and you're going to love it, and you're going to cry at the end if that's your thing. And it's all about the dangers of consumption and not preparing, not taking care of the environment. So that's a great one, I thought, for your message.
Yeah, and it's they could call it WALL-E World, because they find a little plant, they find a little bit of Earth,
right?
Just like Waterworld.
Yeah, there's one of the problems with, okay, so I'm gonna use that to segue. One of the problems with post-apocalyptic movies is you're either accessing a common concept of the apocalypse,
yep,
or you're doing something brand new and then you have to spend the whole movie kind of bringing people along. So you recommended I Think We're Alone Now.
Yes.
And I loved how, and I'm going to be very careful to dance around the spoilers, because I highly recommend this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It, too, is on Prime or Netflix or Prime. So definitely watch this. It's got Dakota Fanning.
Yep.
And
Peter
Dinklage. And they're both amazing. And the thing I love about it is it shows us the post-apocalyptic world. And we're like, okay, all right, we don't quite know how it happened, but we get it in pieces.
And I like how in the movie they don't even really know, right, or they don't talk about it. It's like, well, what do you think? Because she asked them, what do you think happened?
Yeah. And so we kind of get they are just in the dark as we are, metaphorically and also literally. And but what I liked was there is, he believes, so at the very beginning of the movie, he thinks he's the last man on Earth, and then Dakota Fanning shows up. And so it's kind of like there's that theme of, okay, this is my reality, and okay, I'm good with it. And he's not entirely pleased. This is the last I'm going to say on the plot. He's not entirely pleased when Dakota Fanning shows up.
No.
Because he's like, this was my world. I finally did things my way. I don't like that it's the end of the world, but you know what? I'm ready to be king of the land.
Yep.
And do things my way, and had that challenged. And so I thought, wow, I'm not used to post-apocalyptic nightmares where someone is mad that there's somebody else on the planet, right? Like, that's a new thing. But it wasn't like, haha, funny, we turned this on its head. it was a very well constructed and told look at a character and the choices they made and the situations they're in.
I liked how it didn't hit on pretty much 90% of the post-apocalyptic tropes.
Right.
You didn't have cannibalism. You didn't have there were scarce resources, but not a complete lack of resources.
Right. You could find them if
you could find them if you work for them. There weren't constant roving bands of scavengers.
Right.
There wasn't this consistent threat of, I'm afraid to go to sleep tonight because someone might come and kill me.
Right.
I mean, he thinks he's the last man on earth, so obviously he doesn't think that. But a lot of these things, it's not your typical post-apocalyptic. And I like that because it's, like you said, it's a fresh approach to the world has ended, but this person's still here. Oh, now there's this other person.
Right.
What are they going to do?
And
why does he stay there? And if he's got the whole world to himself, why is he cleaning houses and things like that? You learn later that what his job was and stuff like that. Yeah.
As you pay attention. So don't be on your phone.
But don't expect, one of the other things I love about it, it's not high action.
Right.
Very limited dialogue.
Yeah.
It's a slow-paced movie that I think really pays off by being slow-paced.
There's definitely payoff. And it's each little reveal they give you, you're like, oh, okay. So I want to go into a big theme. I want to start here, and then we can decide how long we talk about it and then how long we keep in the actual movie. But I think one of the realities of a post-apocalyptic arena is sex is a commodity, right? Like even in Waterworld, which is silly, it is they're trading time with the women for resources. And when Mariner goes to this one closed society, like, we've already rebred everybody. We are dangerously getting close. We need you to procreate. And then, so the furthest you can go, I guess, is A Boy and His Dog, where like the whole movie felt like a fantasy of, well, if I'm going to be living in this world, what's the way that I could screw the most number of chicks? Like I know it's deeper than that, but is it? And so,
no, the whole movie's a setup for the last line.
It is. So, but it's a reality, right? That when resources are limited and everything is barterable, sex is on the table as a commodity that can be traded. That's a real danger, is that people are now commodities. And so I kind of liked how you've got Peter Dinklage, who is a fine actor and a very handsome gentleman, but then Dakota Fanning shows up and he's like, go away. And it's like, dude, do you not want to be like, hey, last guy, last girl on Earth? In fact, she says
what?
Did you not want to repopulate the Earth?
Yep.
Which is one of those fantasies. I think people have that fantasy. If everything ends and I'm still around, I got to repopulate the Earth. That's my duty. That's my responsibility. I'm a bad guy if I don't.
Yeah, but how many times have you heard, not if you were the last man on Earth?
I personally have never heard that. I know that's on Joshua's outgoing messages. But, so sex is a commodity.
Now, to kind of fly in the face of that,
right?
I watched a movie, looking at the notes here, 1967.
Right.
It's Czechoslovakian.
I didn't see this one.
No, you did not. It's called Late August at the Hotel Ozone.
Okay.
There's a couple different names for it. It depends on how it's translated. The main group of people in this movie, it's a roaming band of women.
Okay.
And they've pretty much kind of gone feral. There is a lady that is leading them that was alive before the apocalypse happened, whatever the apocalypse was. And then all of these other women that are younger.
Right.
And they're just kind of wandering the land. Right. And then they end up finding this guy who has a hotel. He's living in a hotel, Hotel Ozone. And even in all of that, like, there's no worry, concern, or thought of repopulation.
Okay.
because what has happened is they don't know anything other than,
Right.
and so they have regressed to a more feral state, or maybe not even regressed if they didn't know anything prior to, but they they fight amongst themselves and they wander around. Sex has nothing to do with anything in this movie.
So do you find that to be an intentional? See, here's where I get. Sex is a real thing. It's a real motivator, and a post-apocalyptic nightmare is definitely on the table for conversation.
Yep.
So if a movie avoids it, is it because, I don't want to get into that, or did they honestly have a story that didn't need to discuss it? And I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but sometimes there are movies where they don't discuss the realities, and then you're like, well, okay, I mean, this was a story, it's a movie, doesn't have to get into the darker side of humanity, because that's
right.
Well, that's one of the scary things is I would love to live in a world that never happens ever again. But the reality is, in a post-apocalyptic nightmare, we are going to be having these conversations, and I don't love that. So did you feel for this particular movie, it genuinely had no place in the story?
Yeah.
Or was it?
Yeah, it genuinely had no place in the story.
Well, great.
Because it wasn't about, it wasn't really about, ooh, it's the end of the world, how do we fix it?
Right.
Right? Which a lot of movies do. It's more of, it's been the end of the world. The world has ended. And what do people, that's the other thing I like about post-apocalyptic movies is, what do people look like and how do they act after the fact? This movie, I felt, was saying, okay, there's no more society.
Right.
These people don't know what society was.
Okay.
Right? They did not grow up understanding what society means. And so, absent of all of our regular societal norms, what happens to a person or a group of people that don't have anything to answer for? They're not under constant attack from other groups, tribes, whatever, because when they see this guy, that's the first time they've seen a male.
Okay.
They had heard about him, but they've never seen one, right? So it didn't have any place in it.
Okay.
And I think, and that was purposeful, and to put it in there, I think would have done a disservice to the rest of the storytelling.
Well, that's fair enough.
Yep.
So I want to talk about the motivation or the goal in Waterworld. There was a very clear goal, right? We know where land is, or we believe that there's land, and if we can just get to that, we'll be okay.
Okay.
And even in the Terminator movies, it's if we defeat the machines, humanity will have a chance to rebuild. Otherwise, the machines are going for complete annihilation. So there's a ticking clock. There's a thing to be taken care of. Whereas like with Mad Max, it's kind of like, well, things are just going to continue, right?
Yep.
And so sometimes it's like, why? I don't want to get depressing, but like,
why bother?
Why bother? Like once you get to a certain point, it's like, why fight if it's just going to be more? I love Mad Max Fury Road. He goes, "My world is blood and sand," and I was like, "Hell yeah, man, that's kind of but it totally sums it up." So let's talk very briefly about Children of Men. In that we had an aside earlier where we said we weren't really going to talk about Children of Men because there was not one huge event that led to the apocalypse, and it really quite wasn't the apocalypse as much as just. However, I do want to say that's a great example of why even bother? There's nothing you can do. Humanity is just winding down to the last guy dies. And that's why it was a stylistic choice in the movie that there's garbage piled up and windows are busted and light bulbs haven't been changed. Because everybody's like, why? Why even bother? And it's really interesting that in, I think We're Alone Now, where you want to shout at the screen, hey, why are you cleaning that up? It doesn't matter. Like, why are you organizing books in a library that's for you? Like, it doesn't matter. And so, in some movies, I'm like, why would you keep going? That's terrible. I'm not I'm not advocating for ending it, but how much fight do you have in you to have, 5 years of this existence rather than 2, right? Like if I mean,
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there's always that glimmer of hope. Like with Waterworld, if we could just find
right,
X place. Like a lot of these movies, it's as long as I can get to
right,
whatever location,
right.
then I can ignore the rest of the world. They can continue to do whatever fighting they're doing.
Right.
Then I'll be fine.
Wally, they had the plant.
Wally, they had the plant.
If we got the plant, we can fix everything else.
Snowpiercer had as long as we get up to the next level of society. But I don't know. But I also like that about the movies. I don't like it where it's once we get to this point, we'll be fine and everything will be okay.
Right.
Because there's not an end to the post-apocalypse.
Right.
Right.
There really isn't.
There isn't an end. So why would I want to watch a movie where there's an end, a happy ending?
And so sometimes finding hope in a desolate wasteland, if these characters can find hope,
then I can.
Maybe my mounting credit card debt or lack of employment prospects doesn't seem quite as bad. That people do like watching other people succeed with hope.
Previous episode.
Yeah.
Jesus. We were talking about Babadook.
Yeah.
And you were saying it's a very depressive movie, and you've watched it and you enjoyed it, but you can't really pull yourself to watch it a bunch of times.
Right.
And I was of the mind of I've watched it several times and it's a cathartic experience.
Right.
I think maybe it's kind of the same thing. It's that cathartic experience of, all right, that's the worst it could be.
Right.
But now I'm back to my reality and it's okay. There was a movie that I suggested.
Right.
I hadn't watched it. You hadn't watched it. I think we have different opinions on it.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
The Time of the Wolf.
Yep, I'm excited to talk about that.
One of the things I liked is that nobody has the answers in that.
Right.
Nobody knows what's going to happen next. And I felt like that's a nice approach to it, because as much as anybody wants to think they have the answers,
right,
you don't have the answers.
Nobody has the answers.
Time of the Wolf is not for everybody. It's a very different, again, you don't know what caused the apocalypse. It starts off
very fresh,
very happy and go lucky, and this family has escaped.
Right.
And then it just goes downhill.
The apocalypse has just happened.
Yeah.
Or whatever state. This is like day 5.
Yeah.
Right.
What was your takeaway?
So I liked how it was, like you go to a museum and you look at the display case of the Native Americans hunting a buffalo. And so you see this right here. You see the background. You see the foreground. You see the type of plants. You see the stuff they're wearing, the tools they had, what they were hunting, right? And you don't know what happened at breakfast.
Right.
And you can assume based on the clues that you have that you know it's going to be for dinner, right? But you don't. You're given this. I'm going to give you a ton of information about this timeline right here, right? And so that's how I kind of wrapped up this movie in my head. Was you didn't see what happened before.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did not have enough clues at the end to know what is next. Whereas so a satisfying experience would have been, okay, I'm figuring stuff out as I go along, and okay, this is where the director is done talking, he's out of breath. Here's the conclusion. And I didn't find it satisfying at the end, right? I was like, wow, this is powerful, right? And it was heartbreaking. And so it did all the things. And I believe not telling us what's next was to put me in the shoes of the survivors in the movie.
Yep.
We don't know what's next, right? And that's part of it.
No, and I think that's one of the things I really like about it is that it's kind of a post-apocalyptic Waiting for Godot.
Okay, yeah.
Or Godot. There's
It is Godot.
Yeah.
It is
Godot. So
excellent.
That's basically what this movie is. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's next. And so you as the viewer also don't know what's next. And I like that because, like I was saying earlier, there's not an end,
Right.
right? It's just you move on to the next day and you discover whatever happens there. What I liked though was the distillation of the main characters that you get to know at the beginning.
Right.
As the movie moves on, those three main characters, instead of following them and they're the highlight like any normal film,
Right.
they start to become the background.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the leads anymore. They're the supporting cast. So they are the vehicle for you to experience the rest of the crowd as they're being enveloped in the crowd. So are you.
Right.
Right. And so they start to drift in the background as the individuals start to, as an individual mindset starts to disappear. So do they.
Right.
Right. Until the end.
Right.
Right. What I find interesting is the character that was with the boy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And someone correct me if I'm wrong, that's the character that earlier wanted to throw out some of the other characters.
Right.
Because they didn't belong, so they shouldn't be here. Right. So your first kind of introduction to that character is, oh, he's some hard ass that
Right. Callous
and he just doesn't care about anything except for his tiny little tribe.
Right.
Right. And he's the one that at the end shows the most humanity.
Right.
Out of everybody. And it's not because he had this life-changing experience. I think it's more of that, what we talked about in a previous episode with Giallo is that stemmed from realism films that were happening. Right. So this is just kind of a realism film of nobody knows what's going on and people are just kind of trying to figure out their way. And so this character that you're introduced to that you think is just some pain in the ass isn't.
Right. Quick
it's just
judge.
Multifaceted.
Right.
And I love how we were able to see how a character can be multifaceted with just two interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Without having to do deep dives into their backstory.
Right. You need to get all their motivations and the history.
You can get lost in the characters. You can kind of not understand who you're talking to or why. Because it's that confusion that you're going to get when this happens because nobody has the answers. Right. But that's all I'm going to say about Time of the Wolf. I thought it was brilliant.
I kind of felt like there were clues that there'd be a big reveal. And so the ending does have an emotional punch. It's definitely the ending of a movie.
It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, like, bam. But after that, there is not a big reveal or conclusion. And so I was like, wow, thanks a lot. Like, no,
it's a tough ending.
It is a tough ending.
So Time of the Wolf,
mm-hmm.
French, 2003. If we jump back to 1991.
Right.
To one of my films that I love that I've been trying to get you to watch for a while now, and you finally watch it. So Delicatessen,
yes,
Post-Apocalyptic. We don't know what's going on or why, right?
So it's also like our previous episode belonged in a cannibalistic conversation as well. That's not a spoiler, right? Like that's just kind of part of the joke. It's not like a big reveal. It's not a Soylent Green level reveal.
It's a reveal, but
like on the why and the
it's not. Like at the very end, like Soylent Green. Right.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Yeah. So I did love the aesthetic. I loved so this is
Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Jeunet.
Yes.
I was
first introduced to him via probably Alien Resurrection and then Amelie. And I've seen Children of Men. No, Children of
City of Lost Children.
City of Lost Children. There we go. Stuck in the head. That movie, whew, that's a fantastic movie as well.
Yes.
So I love that it had the aesthetic of Amelie, right? Kind of quirky, kind of. It's not like Wes Anderson, or Tim Burton, but you know when you're watching a Tim Burton movie, you know when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie,
Yes.
you know when you're watching a Puget.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Jeunet. All right. You know, I'm going to edit that.
I
You
think
know
it's Jean.
when you're watching a Jeunet.
Just say Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre. You know when you're watching, I'm going to give it a little bit more tail so I can cut it. You know when you're watching a Jean-Paul.
Jean-Paul.
Wait.
Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
I'm going to pull it up here so you can see it.
Right. You know when you're watching a Jean Bonnet. And so, so I love the aesthetic. I loved the, because there's a quirky aesthetic, you allow certain things that you would not allow in other movies. But because you're being told, hey, look at my tail, this is the way I spin things, I'm along for the ride. And I did love it. I loved the reveals. I loved the way that the characters bounced off each other. I loved the subterranean people with their rubber stuff. And I loved the, I loved it.
It was almost like some of the shots are very Rube Goldberg-ish, the way you're moving from floor to floor because of the way the sound is going, because of the music instrument and things like that. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I love his work.
Did this, so here's my question and why we're discussing it today. Did it need to be post-apocalyptic?
I think so.
That was an element of it.
I think so.
They're all trapped in this house kind of because it's a bad wasteland outside.
I think it had to be in order to make the delicatessen acceptable.
Okay.
But what a fun way to have that discussion.
It was a fun romp.
Yeah.
It was. And I thought he builds a playground and then plays in it, you know? So no, I thought it was fantastic. I'm glad I've now seen it. I also think it's better to conversation for this episode than the previous cannibal episode. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that works.
I think had we talked about in the cannibal episode, I think we would just be referencing it now. But I think,
yeah. No, I can get down with that. So let's talk about 12 Monkeys.
I love 12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys talks about it's kind of, I don't know if it's quite political. It's a virus, right? But it's like,
I don't think it's political where there's a definite target that's being
right.
Way.
But what's it saying? What was he saying with it?
Okay. Honestly, the big takeaway I got was you can't change fate, right? Like the more you think it's get so close to preventing it, it's coming. And I think that was a big lesson in the movie.
No matter what he tried to do to stop things from happening,
right,
it still happened, just in a different way.
If not fulfilling.
Right.
One can argue, was he always there?
Yeah.
Or did he replace? Right. But little obscure, a little ambiguous.
So accept your fate how it is, because no matter what you do, you can't escape it.
That's kind of a lesson in it.
Yeah.
But there's also acceptance. Right?
Yep.
Like that's one of the big things with Bruce Willis is he's fighting this and then he's accepting that and then he's being dragged to fight again.
It's a post-apocalyptic movie,
right,
where most of it takes place pre.
Right.
So, and I'll allow that as the grand rule maker of this episode, because without the post-apocalypse, you wouldn't have the movie.
It's exactly like Terminator.
Yeah.
Where the reason why we're watching it is because of the apocalypse.
Yep.
And there's this time travel element.
Right.
And so it has to happen. So I loved how they figured things out. Like it felt like a real mystery. And then the aesthetic. I love the future scenes with the plastic wrap and the hooks and the valves and the tubes. The aesthetic was absolutely amazing.
What I loved about the future aesthetic is that everything looked very cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't this super fancy, because they're living underground. They're doing like they're barely surviving, but they're able to send them back. Right. They're barely surviving. So everything looks like they're barely surviving.
Right.
And I think he pulled that off really well.
Yeah. I wanted to point this out. He can't change what happened. And that wasn't the goal. they told him, don't try to change it. We want information on where the virus came from so we can cure it and return to the surface. It wasn't about stopping it.
Right.
It wasn't the mission.
Right.
But it felt like, oh, it's right there. I can totally, if I could do this one thing. And that wasn't the mission, and that's not what happens. So I like that this movie really, I thought it delved more into, it used post-apocalyptic scenario as the kickoff point, but the movie is a little bit more of a time travel, or the elements that I liked were the time travel elements, where you think you can fix it, you think you can change it. You have the answer to, I know where the boy is. He's not down that well. He's hiding someplace, right? Like, you've got this knowledge, and you're kind of above everything, even though you're out of society, and so they want to lock you up. They want to throw away the key.
I sent you a list of foreign films because I feel like typical Hollywood films have a different aesthetic for post-apocalyptic films and approaches than other outside of Hollywood approaches. And I think they both have their place.
Right. I feel like foreign films can get away with the more art house approach, and that's why it's a common quality.
Okay.
It feels like if you're going to make it at all in the distribution system in America, it has to go through Hollywood.
Yep.
And Hollywood is all money, and they say, look, nobody's going to buy this movie that tells this story. Whereas in other countries, they don't have quite the big tunnel.
Yeah.
They're able to go, oh, I'm going to make this movie, and then I'm going to send it to the festival and see what happens. So there's a little more freedoms there.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's also the assembly line. We got to crank stuff out for the summer blockbuster, and it's got to come out of this date versus that. There's all sorts of algorithms and science and okay, well, this movie's coming out on this date, so we need to wait 3 weeks so that we're not competing because they're going to have this kind of dip and all of that. And it's all about the dollar, right? All about the how many dollars can we get, whereas a lot of the art house films are, let's see if we can make enough money so that we can make another movie.
Right.
Which is great. So at the end of the day, what is going to make you see a trailer of a post-apocalyptic movie and go, yes, I'm definitely going to watch that? If it's not a spin-off, sequel, prequel of existing IP.
So they could probably get me with the aesthetic, right?
Okay.
Like if they really show it off, I could be like, all right, you at least got my cost of admission, right? I'm going to be very critical, but I will give it a shot. However, if the trailer presents a scenario where I'm like, oh, dude, what would you do there, right? Kind of like how you got roped into seeing Rogue One, because how do you escape from a TIE fighter that's 20 feet away, right? Oh my God, I have to see how that's resolved. I mean, I also wanted to see, how did stormtroopers get the water out of their boots when they were waiting on the shore. Nothing but love for Rogue One, but the trailer got me, and it got you as well.
Oh yeah.
But so if the trailer had a scenario where it's like, oh geez, I really want to see how that plays out. You set the question, I want to go for the answer, and it has an aesthetic that I like, I'm down. I think that would be it. So to me, it would be a scenario. Would be the first draw.
Okay. I think for me, for the trailer, it would have to feel real. Okay. I've seen a lot of zombie trailers where society is ended, because that's what happens in zombie movies, but it didn't feel real.
Right.
Like things are a little too convenient.
Right.
So it's got to be where in the trailer you're seeing things are not convenient. There's nothing easy. And then I'll be like, okay, let's. And you know what? Not too many big names.
Okay. Was it distracting?
It can be distracting. If there's just one big name in it, then
Brad Pitt.
Then you start to think,
Joy.
the whole time, okay, are they in it and you know nothing's going to happen to them. They're going to be safe.
Right.
Like you're watching the Hulk, you know the Hulk's not going to die because
Right.
it's his movie, right?
Right.
Or is it, oh, they're in it and then they're the emotional punch that's going to die halfway through to make people then go, we can do this for them.
Well,
you know?
I mean, look at Scream, right? Drew Barrymore
Yep.
was the only one in all the advertisements and the poster.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
That worked. But it worked because it was done early.
Yeah, it was very early.
You know, if you're going to have a star in it and you're going to kill them off in the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Right. But don't make them the emotional punch because then it's distracting, I think, for me, the whole movie. Have we run out of, or have we saturated the market with the approach to post-apocalyptic movies so far? What are they going to look like in 15 years?
I would have thought that, but then I think We're Alone Now. I was like, oh, this is completely fresh.
Yeah.
Completely new. So it's not, all the toothpaste is not out of the tube. So I feel like there's still a lot of freedom there. The trick is, again, our greatest scourge is lazy filmmaking. And so I think it'd be easy to say, hey, I want to do a movie in a post-apocalyptic nightmare because it's already easy. All the weight and seriousness is kind of taken care of me if I just reference it.
So we could just go into the woods. We don't need buildings. We don't need houses. We can just go in the woods because we're surviving the apocalypse.
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And all the stuff we have is busted, right? So I think it's rife for laziness, but I still think it's a wonderful, terrible playground to express cautionary tales and criticisms of societal norms.
Yep. And you get to feel better about yourself at the end of the day because you're like, whew, that was rough, but at least I don't live in that world.
I don't have that.
For now.
Yes.
For now. All right. So
let us know in the comments below. We'd love to know, what are your favorite apocalyptic movies? Did we get something wrong other than whatever we decide to keep in here? And so don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And remember, sometimes it's just because it's got good taste.